Welcome to the Ingleside Reviews, Innovators Unveiled. We're thrilled to take you on a monthly journey into the minds behind the most cutting-edge products hitting the market today. From the coolest gadgets lighting up your Instagram feeds to groundbreaking services revolutionizing our daily lives, we're here to spotlight the innovations and, more importantly, the innovators. So gear up for an energetic and informative ride as we delve deep into the stories, the challenges, and the triumphs of the creative geniuses shaping our future. This is Ingleside Reviews, Innovators Unveiled. And now your host, A.D. Edwards.
Welcome to another episode of Ingleside Reviews, Innovators Unveiled, where we dive deep into the journeys of trailblazers that shape the future through grit, creativity, and purpose. I'm your host, A.D. Edwards, and today's guest is someone whose story will move you and motivate you. Mario Kelly is the founder of Believe 313 Staffing, a company rooted in second chances and reinvention. From adversity to entrepreneurship, from Detroit streets to Detroit's boardrooms, Mario didn't just beat the odds, he redefined the odds. We're going to talk about transformation, leadership, and what it means to truly believe in people and believe in yourself. You're not going to want to miss this episode. Mario, welcome to the show.
Oh man, I appreciate you having me on.
Well, I'm glad to have you on. When I heard about your story, I was really intrigued, amazed, and I was thinking to myself, this is a story that will inspire many other individuals, no matter where they are in their journey of trying to be an entrepreneur, even if it's just at the infantile stages and they're just have an idea.
Yes.
So I had to get you on the show. I'm glad you made time for us.
No problem, man. Anytime.
So I'm going to begin talking about your personal journey from the beginning. First of all, the name that you have for the company is very interesting.
Yeah.
Believe 313.
Yes.
What does it mean personally to you, and how does it serve others?
So personally for me, it's a mindset. I honestly believe. It's very cliche that we always say, "Oh man, you got to believe, but it's really the truth. Believe 313 first to separate the name from the number. Believing is a mindset that you have to have with anything in the world, anything in life. Every step you take, you have to believe you can take that next step. And it's a journey. To know where you want to go, you have to believe in it. To know what your next move is, you have to believe in it. And then 313. I'm a fifth generation Detroiter.
Okay.
And I bleed, Detroit, I believe Michigan. So it's just in me. And then together, I put it together so others in our city, we were coming from bankruptcy, we're one of the poorest, revenue for our jobs. I think the average, Wayne State did a survey, and I think the average salary here in Michigan is like between $24,000 to $30,000 a year.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, that's really just getting by. Most make that in a month. So
right.
I put it together for people from my city to really believe in themselves, because like you just said, every idea starts like a mustard seed. But in order for it to grow, you have to believe in that.
Yes, I agree with that totally. So what was the turning point in your life where you said something has to change for you personally? Because I heard a little bit about your story, but I don't know if my audience is very familiar with it, but I want you to tell the story.
Yeah. So I got married, I think it's 2016, 2017, I can't recall, 2016. And I was working like that, like every husband out here that's watching, coming home, doing my job, thinking that, I was going to sail right into the sunset, together. She ended up getting, my ex-wife and I ended up getting a life insurance policy for over $200,000. I came home to a a letter and $1,500. So
One of those Dear John letters.
I'm sorry, Dear John letters. And I like to let that sit there for people who are watching. because that was really the turning point for me. It wasn't 150,000. It wasn't 10,500. It was $1,500 out of 200,000. And that was really a situation where, you ever seen the cartoons when they got the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other shoulder? That
Yes.
was it right there, where I can go left and think about everything I can crash, as the kids say, crash out and just try to find her and do something crazy out this world, or I can just really go right, get myself together, and figure out my next steps. So what I ended up doing was I was standing in the house, and I'm gonna show my age, but there used to be a rubber band that used to says WWJD. What would Jesus do?
Right. Right. I remember
And
those.
at this particular time, I decided, because she left me a letter, and the last thing on the letter said was believe in yourself. And I took that and said, you know what? Let me go and make these rubber bands. So I was already contacted a company in China about doing these, but I just never followed through on it. So I ended up contacting this company in China, and they gave me these rubber bands. Depending on how many I bought, it was either between 3 to 7 cents. And then for every 300, they'll give me 100 for free. So I
Okay.
couldn't stay at the house where we was at because the rent was $1,250. I only got $1,500. I'm working the job, but over the next maybe 2.5, 3 weeks, I'm so messed up mentally that I end up losing the job. So now I'm in my car. And at this particular time in life, I had just learned about something called manifestation.
Okay.
And my back is against the wall. Why not? What else can go wrong? Why not just try it? So what I started doing was driving to one of the suburbs in the city of Detroit. It's called Rosedale Park. It's a nicer area in Detroit. All the houses over there are between, let's say, 250,000 to maybe 600,000. Now, depending on what part of the country you're in, that can sound like a lot. That can sound like a little, but a 250,000, the average home in Michigan, in Detroit rather, is anywhere between 40 to 90,000.
So this is almost 10 times the amount of an average home,
Yes,
almost. Yeah.
yes, yes. So, at one particular time in Detroit, you can get a house for $1.
Wow.
You can get a house for $1,000. So I said, you know what, this is where I want to live. This is where I want to raise my kids at. So every night I would drive over there, sleep in front of a house, and put my car in front of a house, sleep in front of that house, and imagine that that was my house, manifesting. I was putting myself in that area, in that environment. And so my whole routine was go to Rosedale Park, find a house to sleep in front of, go to LA Fitness in Dearborn, take me a shower, shoot downtown, and sell the rubber bands. And my selling point for the rubber bands was I would see you on the corner or see you walking to work or from work, and I'll say, hey, Mr. Edward, I don't know you, but excuse me, sir. Do you believe in yourself? You say, oh yeah, most definitely. I give you
Yes.
a rubber band and say, well, just make a donation, man, and keep that on. Every day when you're going through hard times, you always got something to look at and keep going to motivate you. People started giving me $2, $3, $5, $10. Anything more than 50 cent was a profit. Because
Right.
I'm getting them between 3 to 7 cent. So that went on for a few months. That whole routine. I went to the city council. The city council in Detroit every Tuesday has something called open forum, where you can go out. The public can come and speak and have 2 minutes to talk. I went there, spoke, talked about the rubber bands, gave everybody one of the rubber bands, and they end up putting it on their Facebook page. And from that point,
Really?
it skyrocketed. Now when I'm coming downtown, people are looking for me. They're calling me the Believe Man. Now they're giving me 10, 15, $20, $30. I've even got $50 for some. I've got $100 for some. So what I did next was, instead of just having one particular rubber band, whatever team was playing, whatever sport was in season that time, would go
Yes.
get their team colors. If it was the Lions, if it was gray and blue, if it was the Pistons, red and black and white, if it was the Tigers with blue and orange, and I'll go to the stadiums and say, "Hey, do you believe in the Tigers? Put this on, they gonna win. They gonna make the playoffs." So I would go through so many rubber bands on a particular day, it was pathetic. So, and then all I kept doing was I make $500, give me a $500 worth of rubber bands, put the profit in my spare tires. Make $1,000, buy me 1,000 rubber bands, put the profit in the spare tires. So I'm using it like a hustle, you know.
Yes.
Every time
Yes.
to $1,000 I'm getting, I'm buying some more rubber bands, putting the rest of the profit up. Um, I would go to schools. I would market through the kids because kids and all kids wear hundreds of rubber bands on their wrists, like it's
Right.
jewelry. So I'm doing that for a few months. I'm in the van for a few months. But I knew that I did. A lot of people always say, "Well, why didn't you get an apartment?" Or, as I knew that's not what I wanted to do. I was looking for.
You putting your profit back into your company.
Yeah, I was putting it back into the company. So I could have went and got an apartment, but I had always. I'm 35. I've been living on my own since 21, and I'm going through a lot of evictions here, evictions there, paying rent here. I said I need to get a solid foundation. I need a home for my kids. Um,
Mario, got a question for you.
yes.
We've all grew up in society, and when people hit hard times, the first thing someone to tell them is you have to get a job.
Yes.
So my question to you is this, and I want you to continue with your journey, but what made you realize that entrepreneurship was your path and not a job?
Um, I've had plenty of jobs in my life, and every job I've been in, I've been unhappy. I've always figured out, saying, man, I can do this better. I always try to figure out a way to do the job better, to always got to be friends with the owners or the
Mm-hmm.
facility managers or different things like that. But a job, my heart, and I've had great jobs at Ford, at the plant, Chrysler. It's never given me that fulfillment, that feeling that I've
Right.
always been looking for.
Right. Even though you had a good job with good benefits, you wasn't fulfilled.
I wasn't. I felt
Understood.
like my talent wasn't being produced at this high level. Um, so and I'll come from, like I say, Detroit is a very greedy city. You're from Chicago, you understand. Chicago, Detroit is like cousins. So, we're
Right.
naturally hustlers. That's why you got this
Yep.
podcast going on. You
Yes.
got your business that you have because it's just an entrepreneur mindset where we come from. So,
Exactly.
I-
So now you in the van. You haven't gotten an apartment. Picking back up on your journey.
yeah. So one day I was riding through Rosedale Park. The police were putting a blight sign on a gentleman's house. House had bushes and trees and weeds all covering up. And here in Detroit, they give you blight tickets for not cutting your grass, broken windows, abandoned house, different things like that. So you get so many, what I'm saying, they'll take the house from you. So I went, jumped out, talked to the police officer. He said, "Man, we've been giving this guy tickets for 2 years. I don't know what's going on." I took the ticket, went downtown, found out who owned the house, found the owner, found him, ended up buying the house from him for $6,500.
And this is in the neighborhood that you've been camping out, and you are manifesting your life in this neighborhood. This is the exact same neighborhood.
Yes, sir. Rosedale Park. I've been over here many a nights for the last 5, 6 months. And he didn't even want to sell it to me because he was like, "It's no need, man. The house is messed up. It's back taxes. It's water. It's this. It's that." None of that scared me. I was like, "Don't worry about it. Let me handle that. Let me buy the house from you." So I ended up buying it from him. Went in there maybe within the next 2, 3 days, cleaned it completely out. Now, living room, the ceiling's falling through. The wood floor is warped. There's trash and garbage in every room. I cleaned it out myself, set the trash in the front, and tarped the rest of the house off. The money that I had left from after I bought it from him, I went and got a brand new bathroom made. New tub,
Okay.
sink, toilet, tiled out, and then I cleaned out my bedroom and straightened that up. Got me an air mattress, and then now I'm back to the rubber bands. I'm back downtown selling rubber bands and doing room by room now. Instead of just putting the profit up, now I'm putting the profit
Yeah.
into the house, getting each room fixed. DTE, or you got the electric cut on, the plumbing started and everything. So now I'm at the stage where I got a foundation. I can come take a shower, I can lay down, and I can go downtown and do my job.
Okay. Interesting. Now here's a question for you. What role did faith or belief play in your personal transformation? Because everyone, they may start out believing, but you notice a person's belief can only take them so far. They control how far it takes them.
Yeah.
But some people's belief only gives them an idea. Some people believe hits a roadblock and they stop. You hit several roadblocks. How did you, what made you keep going? Because I know it wasn't easy because what you're describing took months on end.
Yes, yes. Um, Honestly, man, there was I know in this story, I know in this book, a lot of people see the end result of the success and all the employees and all the money and everything. But there were numerous of hard nights, hard times. My mind playing tricks on me, telling me to do this and to do that. So, the first thing is faith with no work. It's garbage.
It's dead. Yep.
It's dead. So, but the most important was keeping God. It took a different prayer every day, you know,
Hmm.
um, putting God first, understanding that God doesn't give me more than you can handle is really the main focus. And then just during that time, that progress, I seen it. I can picture myself. I'm seeing the next step. I didn't see this far, but I see the next
Hmm.
step. Keep going, selling rubber bands. I'm always making some money every day. I'm just keep going, keep going, keep going. And then, like I just always tell myself, how can I not believe? And I'm the believe man. You know, I'm trying to
Exactly.
people would never knew my situation because I'm not wearing it. You know,
Right.
certain times I was still there for other people who were in better situations than me. They're calling me, telling me about their problems, and they don't even understand. I'm talking to them in the car.
Right.
Helping.
You
I'm
homeless.
homeless. They don't know this. A lot of my friends just realizing this when the book came out. And
Hmm.
they're like, man, why you didn't tell me? I'm like, because that wasn't your problem. I had to tackle this myself. I had lived with friends before and different things like that. But the main thing is keeping God first, staying prayed up. But there was some hard nights, some cold nights, some rainy nights. But I just knew that there was a bigger purpose on the next side.
So that's all inspiring. You at the point now. You fixing up your home that you manifested. You praying through the hard times. What was the biggest challenge when you launched Believe 313 Staffing, and where did that idea come from?
Well, Believe 313 staff and didn't start first. It was more so Believe 313 cleaning. So how I got there
Okay.
was um now it took me about a year and a half to get the house to livable for myself. It was painted, floors was done, I had a kitchen in there, living room, dining room, um, beds and stuff in the both rooms, bathroom was done. So
You doing all the work yourself?
what I could do, me and YouTube,
Okay.
but the electrical and plumbing I couldn't do. I had to hire
Okay.
a electrician and a plumber, but basically everything else, far as painting, sanding the floors, putting in the cabinets and stuff, that was all my own work. I was just YouTubing and Googling. I went to YouTube University, as I always say.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
but yeah, so let's say maybe going into 2019, there was a group called the Detroit Youth Choir here in Detroit, and they went to something called America's Got Talent. And I was blessed to be able to make them some shirts that said believe, like this says believe, but it says NDYC. DYC is abbreviated for Detroit Youth Choir. So they did that for about a good 6, 7 months. There was a location here in Detroit called Shinola. It's a watch company. It's the only American luxury watch company, Swiss watch, that we have in America. um, they contacted us and said they wanted to do a tour because they do tours for guests just to show them how the watches are made, the process, or what it takes, how long it takes. Some takes some watches 6 to 12 months to be made for one watch. So we went on a tour there, and but also during my process of being homeless, let me not forget this, is that I got a book called 19 Isms by Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert's the owner of the Clifton Cattle.
He's the owner of the Cavaliers, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So he has 19 isms, 19 sayings that he lives by. Figure it out, put the roast in the oven. The inches that we need are everywhere around us. Um, every client, every customer, every client, every time. Yes before no. There are multiple sayings that he has that he lives by. That's his basis business off of. So my favorite one is the inches we need are everywhere around us. So when we're on this tour, we're walking through or whatever, and they take us in a room to to sit down and talk and everything like that. And as we walk in this room, it's dirty. And when it has all this dirt is in there, she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, our cleaning company is terrible. We this that we let." So she's cleaning up, and I say, "Hey, I have a cleaning company. I didn't have a cleaning company, but where I grew up at, I'm pretty sure you too. We had chores when we were growing up.
Oh,
So on the
definitely.
refrigerator, it says Monday kitchen, Tuesday bathroom. And if you didn't hit those in a timely manner, mom gonna come wake you up in the middle of the night. Get your butt down there.
Yes, especially the dishes.
Yeah.
You can't leave no dishes in the sink, man.
So she asked me, say, "Do you have a cleaning company?" I said, "No, I don't have. I said, I do have a cleaning company." She said, "Okay, perfect. Give us a proposal. Let us see what's going on." So this is more like October 2019.
Okay.
I'm YouTubing, I'm Googling, I'm trying to figure out how to do pricing for cleaning and corporate levels. And the numbers I'm looking at are like astronomical. I'm like, nobody in the world is paying this much for cleaning. So I said, let me take it in my own hands and figure out how much would I charge myself to do the job? How much would I pay out in supplies, and how much would I give my employees if I needed 5 people? The number I came up with was 6,500.
Okay.
So after I came up with that number, happy. I got like 2,000 for my own after I pay my employees. I'm ecstatic, free money. So I'm tell them, hey, let's have the meeting. I call my mentor, name is Horatio Williams here in Detroit. Tell him about it, more so like letting him know what I've done. And he was like, "No, man, you got to send them a FOIA, which is a Freedom of Information Act, and
Okay.
get the last contract." I'm like, "Okay, I'll do that." But 265 is in my head already. I don't even care about no FOIA or what.
Right.
When we go to have the meeting, they end up giving me the last contract. And honestly, I can tell you, as soon as I opened it up and looked at it, I instantly got gas, like, because it was 18,000.
And you way underbid.
Man, way underbid it, man, way underbid it. So I let them know, hey, I was coming to tell you guys that I'm not ready to give you the contract. I need it for a few more weeks. So what I ended up doing now is going back, taking a few thousand off.
Hmm.
Came back to them like a few thousand up under. And they said, "Okay, we'll get back with you." So now this is like November 2019, and COVID is slowly wrapping up.
Yeah, it's in China by now. By
Yes.
November, it's in Asia. It's coming our way.
Yeah, it's coming our way. And so what I started doing now is started hearing about all this COVID stuff, and I see them over in Wuhan, China. And I say, man, one day we watching CNN and they're doing some fog and stuff up and down Wuhan, China streets. And I'm like, I wonder how they get to come out. And it started there. Friend of mine said, you should, look into it. So they had something called an electronic fogger, but it was the chemicals that you put into there. So I started studying something called the CDC. And I started studying what chemicals kill SARS, AIDS, HIV, blood, COVID, any bacteria, virus. I was studying what type of chemical can kill that. Um, and anything I would find on the CDC, I would email it to Shinola. I would put
Okay.
4 or 5 people in an email and say, "Hey, your cleaning company should be using this. Your cleaning company should be doing this. The CDC says this cleaning company should be doing this." I did that for about 3 months.
Okay, so now we're looking at like January, February.
February of 2020. Now it's coming here. Now it's here.
Now it's here. Yes.
Now you got people over in California who are getting sick and different things like that. The world is slowly closing down. So there's no more going downtown selling rubber bands at all. There's no more selling shirts or anything like that.
No.
So now I'm trying to figure out what can I do. I said, let me go ahead and just start the cleaning company, start marketing on Facebook. So that's where the $27 come in. So now we're like March 19th, 18th. I'm marketing on Facebook. Hey, I got something called the electronic fogger that it kills COVID in 4 minutes on touch. A church from the east side of Detroit called the Conant Missionary Baptist Church contacted me and said, can you come clean our church? I still don't know nothing about pricing, man, honestly. So I said, how much would I?
I need the foyer.
Yeah. I need 40 for it. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna charge her 1,500. She gonna turn me down anyway. I went did
Right.
my little walkthrough. I'm acting like a okay, I got yeah, okay. And I said, $1,500, we'll do it. We'll be here tomorrow. She said, let's do it. I said, wow, you went for it. So we come in there a couple days later, we fog it out, we cleaning, wiping everything down. Halfway through that job. So that's where I had $7. I went and borrowed 20 from somebody. So I went and bought $27 worth of cleaning products. So that's where
Okay.
$27 come in at.
Gotcha.
Halfway through that first church job, they recommend me for a second job. We go to the
Okay.
second job. Halfway through that job, they recommend me for a third job. So within less than 6 days, we make $4,500 off of $27. And I said, I will never do anything else. This is what I want to do is
Gotcha.
cleaning and stuff like that. So all of 2020, we were doing nothing but cleaning houses, maybe 5 houses a day, 2, 3 churches a week, and I can honestly tell you that was probably the most money I ever made. We at the end of each day, I'm bringing home anywhere at the minimum $2,000 a day at the minimum,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes 5, some days 6,000. So all of 2020, we're doing cleaning. And then now in 2021, when no one wanted to go to work, everybody was getting PPP and SPA loans and different things.
Yes.
That's when I said, you know what, let me get in front of this because we're not going to be able to just be unemployed forever. Let me start a staffing agency so when the world gets back moving the right way, I'll already be in the front of everything and I'll be employed. I can have a database and employ people and different things like that.
So, Mario, do you still have the? I know you have the staffing agency now. Do you still have the cleaning company as well?
Yes, sir, I do, most definitely.
Okay, so you busy.
Yeah, we also have a AI company too now. We just started.
Interesting. I'm gonna ask you a little bit about that down the road in this interview. But so when you started Believe Staffing, what was the biggest challenge for you?
Was just understanding staffing, understanding what markup means, and 40% for this, and the difference between a markup for clerical compared to industrial or compared to cleaning. So they're all different markups because there's different, for cleaning, you may be dealing with biohazard. So that may be a higher markup. Clerical may just be answering the phones and different things like that. That may be a lower markup. And then one of the most challenging things was really recruiting, trying to convince a person that you have a job for them in the middle of everybody getting unemployment.
So that's what I really want to talk to you about because your staffing agency is a little different from traditional staffing agencies. So how do you say your company's differ from the traditional so the audience can know exactly how you use your staffing agency to give back?
Yep. So first thing is I lead by example. So that's why I got the work shirt on right now, coming from the Grand Prix. Just was helping my brothers down there because we were a couple men short. And I bring a lot of people from the halfway house. So people who don't know what the
Okay.
halfway house is when you're about 12 months or less and you're going, if you're in jail and you're like 12 months or less and you've been in good time, they'll send you to either a camp or like a halfway house. So you have
Right.
something called work release. So you can't get out of the facility unless you do have a job. So we go to our neighborhood halfway houses here in Detroit and we pull a lot of people from there.
That's excellent. That's excellent because the whole point is what's the word was used um, reform
Yeah, reform.
is about reform. So
Yes.
having a job and being able to contribute to society is very important. And a lot of these individuals who are reformed and would like a second chance and deserve a second chance, their doors are shut in their face.
Yes.
And so I thought that was interesting. Um, what's one unconventional decision that you made in business that eventually paid off for you?
Ah, man, that's a good question. Starting a company called Cage Rage was something that this spirit, I call it pivoting. You know,
Hmm.
you got to be able to pivot in with being an entrepreneur because, looking, seeing forward and pivoting. So as I was hiring a lot of returning citizens, um, I was seeing that the soft skills wasn't there. Resume building, looking for a job, because I don't want you to work for me forever. This is a temporary agency. So I want you to
Right.
use this as a catapult and to go on into your career. So with the Cage Rage, we help you with soft skills. Um, every Monday we meet, we help you build your resume. You help you surf the web, get your email address. And then everybody is not going to be a career builder. Some of these guys are really entrepreneurs, but they may be a big drug dealer that he got caught up or something, but he never knew how to get an EIN or LLC. So we also
Right.
help you find your purpose in life, find what you like
Excellent.
to do. If you're a cook, or if you cut hair, or even I push in to start a cleaning company. So
Hmm.
we also help you start an LLC, get an EIN, and then I push you any type of connections I have. I flood you with those in whatever industry that you're trying to go to.
That's excellent. That's excellent. That's true reform right there.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned you have an AI company, and I have a question. In a world of automation and AI, what do you think makes people irreplaceable? Because a lot of people say, "Oh, this AI is taking over everybody's job." But what do you think? And then you staff people for employment.
Yeah.
What do you think make people irreplaceable?
Um, the mindset, the hard work. I don't think AI is going to replace a lot of people. I feel like the people who are trained in AI are going to be the ones who replace the people. Because at the end of the day, you still need developers, you still need technicians, you still need people to put the database into Emily's, into the AIs and different things like that. So even though it may be able to spit out information at a very high volume, we still have the mind to be able to put it together. So someone's mind somewhere in the world was the one who truly invented these AI systems and different things like that. So what I always tell people is, if you have, if you're worried about being replaced by an AI robot or just an AI call center, I would say fully dive into learning about AI, learn about open AI, learn about how to use Chat GPT at a high level. I actually even started a school called Chat GPT Mastery, where we teach you how to use perfect prompts. AI is a train, let's say that. And every train needs a conductor, or it just rides straight off the tracks. So you are the conductor, and we teach you how to really drive the train to get to what you need to get to where you're trying to go.
Chat GTP is GPT is amazing. I just a quick story. My wife and I, we had been talking about seeing the cherry blossoms in DC for a while. So this past March, April, we decided to go. But what some of my friends don't know is that they said, "You guys did this. You went to this jazz club. You went to this museum." I asked Chat GPT, told him what I was trying to do. I asked which weekends were the best for the cherry blossoms to be in full bloom. He gave me a couple of choices. I told him I want to stay in this vicinity. I'm looking for something to do in the evenings. I asked him what's the top 10 museums of the Smithsonian to see. It put everything. Oh, and I told him I want to stay under a certain amount of money in the budget wise. within minutes, we had a whole itinerary planned.
Yes, had you.
And that's just something minor.
That's very minor,
It was amazing.
but that's things that I'm talking about. See, you put perfect prompts in there. You say, hey, I want to spend under 3,000. What is the best weekend to go see the cherry blossoms? I want to stay in this area and find me the ones that has the best reviews. I want to also at
Exactly.
night, I want to go to the perfect jazz club. I want to go see this museum. So when you put those right prompts in there, it can literally spit out exactly like you say your whole itinerary was together, and you didn't have to get there and get to Googling and say, "Baby, what you want to do next? What we do next?"
Yes. It was great because it was like a 4-day trip, so it wasn't a lot of time, so it was perfect. Now, how do you identify hidden potential and someone others might overlook?
How do I identify hidden potential? I feel like first off, there's something called a genius level talent that I truly believe in. And I feel like everybody that's watching this show, anybody that hears it on whatever platform that you're listening to, we all have a genius level talent. It's just for us to understand that we're geniuses and that for us to identify what it may be in. For instance, Kanye West, because he's from Chicago. I've heard him say before he can see beats in his head. He can see music. Jay-Z, he can hear a beat and spit out some lyrics in a matter of seconds.
Won't even have to write it
I don't
down.
have to write it down. Myself, I've been trying to put together a rap song forever, you know what I'm saying? But that's not my talent, but I've never met a stranger, and I'm a people's person, so I'm able to speak to other people where Jay-Z may be an introvert where he don't really like to speak to people, but he can rap minutes, words in a minute, you know what I'm saying? So we all have I feel like there's 9 forms of intelligence. We all have one or multiple one of these genius level talents. So I believe everybody has a talent. It's just for someone to be able to turn that talent up a little bit. And usually just me being myself, talking to people, telling them my story, making you feel comfortable, and just noticing different things. And then I'm saying, like, for instance, yesterday I had a phone interview with a gentleman, and the way he was talking and the words he was telling me, I said, no, he wouldn't be good for a night shift job because I can just hear it in his voice. His responsibility level isn't up there. But I could
Right.
probably put him on a midday shift because he was telling me, man, I got to watch my kids at night or whatever, but I don't like getting up in the morning. I said, I can probably put him on a shift that might start about 1 o'clock. And perfect.
Yeah.
I brought him down there to the Grand Prix, told him to come at 1. He worked till about 6, 7 o'clock, and they were like, "Oh, make sure he comes back tomorrow." So just literally listening. I've think another one of Dan Gilbert's is I've never learned by talking. Just listening to people is will really identify what that talent is.
Right. Excellent. So, talking about second chances and redemption again, I want to dive into this a little bit more, delve into it a little deeper. Why is offering second chances such a foundational part of your company's mission?
Um, and I hate to turn this into a church interview, but Jesus Jesus died for our sins.
Okay.
You know, and I don't just consider sins, but for second chances.
Right.
And who are we to say that just because this person has gone to jail for whatever it may be? It can be for jaywalking and whatever, or stealing, or from a store where he was hungry and he had kids at the house who couldn't eat and he got caught. We can't just say that these people, everybody is criminals. And then also, if America is saying that if we put you in jail and you do your time, you know, you should come to society and get a second chance. But a lot of people hold that against us because 90% of the people who are incarcerated are African American or minorities, let's say that. So the majority
Hmm.
of the world, kind of holds that against us. By
Right.
me also growing up in the projects, and a lot of my friends I went to middle school and elementary ended up going to jail. I know they were great kids, great teenagers, great men. It was just something that happened along the way. Plus, I truly believe that I'm living his story. God blesses me to bless others. Um, so I know that I'm here. My purpose in life is to help. It's to help maybe someone to get a second chance. It's to help an employer get some employees, vice versa. So I know that God has put me here to help. So I don't turn the cheek to anybody. I just continue to try to help as many people as I can.
So I've always said this, and I'm not the originator of this saying, but success is preparation meeting opportunity. And that's how you got your house. That's you didn't go blow the money when you was selling your bands, because if you'd have did that, you wouldn't have been able to give that man any money. So you was prepared, you had the opportunity. So it sounds like Believe Staffing is giving these individuals an opportunity.
Yes.
And that's what people, they just need a chance, and that's very important. What do you think people often misunderstand about returning citizens and underserved workers?
Really just piggybacking on my last answer was most people who have gone to jail are criminals in everybody's mind, regardless of what you do. So you're a bad guy, you're a bad woman, you know. So I think that's what's misunderstood. A lot of people are, they go to jail for tax evasion or for fraud or something like that. That doesn't make you a bad person to society. So I just really feel like America really doesn't believe in second chances. If that was the
Okay.
case, once a person comes home, you shouldn't have to go through all these loops and bounds to get a job if you got a felony.
Yeah, most people believe in second chances when it comes to themselves.
Yes. Yeah, that's it.
We're individuals. We're very hard on others, but we're a little bit easier on ourselves.
Yes.
And because we know our circumstances, whereas we don't know the other person's circumstances, but they have circumstances as well.
Yes.
So that's something to think about. Can you share a success story of someone whose life changed because of Believe 313?
Oh man, I have a lot of them. I'm gonna give you two of them. One of them is my best friend, and then another gentleman is a guy that I worked with. That's one of the reasons I started Cage Rage. His name is Willie Baskin. They called him Blood West. He's from Chicago. He told me in the '70s he used to come to Detroit to literally rob people, and he was a part of the GD gang, and they would send him here to do robberies and different things like that. Early '80s, they ended up killing somebody, and he had 3 life sentences, and he ended up getting his life sentences turned around due to evidence and stuff like that. So he ended up doing 40 years in the jail. He came home,
Mm, mm, mm.
and people were calling me from jail, like, man, don't hire him. He was doing this and that and that and this. But when I hire people, I give you a piece of rope. I let you hang yourself. I'm gonna give I'm
Mhm.
gonna give you a chance. Now, if you take that chance and you mess it up from there, it's on you. So he came, I told him my whole story. I told him, the only reason he got this job and the only reason he's working in the location is because of me, so take heed to that. And one day he called me, he said, man, these young guys down here at the place is using profanity. So, if anybody is in jail, you can't use a lot of words to another. You can't call me on my name, basically. That's the highest level of disrespect in jail. So he said, man, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to come down here and talk to these guys and let them know that ain't how it go. So I went down there, talked to the young kids. They understood what I was saying, and that was how Cage Rage was really started. But like I said, I used my company as like a springboard.
Mhm.
So he worked with me for probably 4 months. And I mean, he would work 6 days, 10 hours. Some days he'll work 7 days, And with Cage Rage, we started putting together his resume. We started searching the web. And now he's the supervisor for the water department here in the city of Detroit. And
Excellent.
that just came through, the motivation, emotional intelligence on the job. We do all of that type of situation at Cage Rage. We even do out scenario situations where we walk you through different things that may even happen. The second story is my best friend name is Andre Woodland. He was a vice principal in Maryland. Came home to Detroit one weekend, 4th of July weekend. Got caught in the middle of some stuff, fighting, and a guy ended up getting shot. He ended up doing 10 years Yeah, you end up doing 10 years, man, and knowing that you having master's degrees and, at one particular time your life is here. Now you doing 10 years and you coming back home and have to do 10 years and 2 years parole. When he got out, he started working with me. Um, and he just started his own security company. Just finished his parole, just started his own security company, and now he has his first account with a school. Being a security guard, security company for the whole school. He got another interview. Just told me today, next week for another school. So to be able to motivate him and to motivate them to either go and get you a career or go and start you a business and teach you how to get contracts, that's really the high for me. Doing all
Yes.
that is fine. Don't, because, I don't love money. I love people. But for them to tell me, man, I just got a contract, bro, and hear it in his voice, that's really like my payday.
Yeah. Yeah. Their success is your satisfaction.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you mentioned like giving people rope. So you have to run a company. How do you balance compassion with running a sustainable business when you have certain individuals? How do you make that balance? Because everything can't be off emotion because you got a business to run.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm very, very strict, very strict. Everything's by the book. I'll tell people my mother was my first secretary, and I fired her within 2 weeks. You know,
Man, Mario.
so no, I mean, literally though, for real. I'm very strict. I'm by the book.
He said, "Mom, what? Mom, wait, you gotta give me a minute to process that, man. Mom wasn't cutting the mustard,
My
man.
mom
You gave her 2 weeks, man.
too dropped in. She was more so talking about this my son company and don't do this. No,
Oh
yeah, I
no.
can't have. I appreciate
Okay.
you. This dude cook, bring some food for us or whatever we need, but I gotta move on. So
Right,
tell
right.
to my employees, I'm very, very strict. Um, I'm by the book. Like I say, I gave you some rope, but the first time you try anything slick, I'm done with you. And
Okay.
I can't grow a business being a minority company in a majority field with on emotions and compassion, like you say. We have to go by the book. We're here to do a job at the end of the day. We give you opportunity to do the job, but if you don't do the job, you gotta go.
Understood. Understood. Now, what advice would you give someone who's starting over, personally and professionally? Because you've done both, personal and professional. So, what advice would you give someone?
Keep going. Figure it out is also another one of Dan Gilbert's isms. Because at the end of the day, and I'm gonna give you another one also, numbers and money don't lead, they follow. So don't get caught up in the numbers. Don't get caught up in the money. Just figure it out, keep going, put the roast in the oven, take it out, taste it. If it need a little bit more salt, push it back in there. But the main thing
Gotcha.
is just believing in God.
Hmm.
Believing in God, knowing that He's not going to give you more than you can handle. So anybody that's out there that's listening, that's really, going through that point of really starting back over, business wise and personal, put God first and just figure it out. Keep going.
Got it. Got it. So, when it comes to leadership and culture, what's the hardest leadership lesson you've had to learn?
The hardest leadership lesson. Um, was like you said, putting my emotions to the side,
Okay.
putting my emotions and understanding that this is a true business. This isn't you can't have a successful business off emotions. Uh,
Understood.
a lot of times I used to think like, oh man, they just doing that to me because I'm black. No, you're not in line with something. Something
Yeah.
that might not be your time. A lot of times I always try to, like for instance, 3 years ago they had something in Detroit called the 40 under 40. You know,
Hmm.
and at this time I'm doing a half a million to 700,000 a year. I got all these accounts. Got all these people that's working for me, and I just know that I'm gonna get this award, and I didn't get it. So I was, oh man, they just don't like me. They this and they this and that. And no, it just wasn't. I didn't have enough votes. I ended up finding out I just needed more. I just thought it would be, if you get one person to vote for you, they're gonna read the bio and say, okay, he's good. No, you just need enough votes So just taking the
Hmm.
emotion out of the business side was my main lesson.
Okay. All right. How do you keep your team motivated when things get tough?
Um, Lead by example. Any type of situation like I just said today, we had some people that kind of fell off the boat. I jumped right in there. And for me to, I tell them all the time, I can't outwork you and pay you. So just
Mm,
so keep up.
I like that. I like that.
Because like I just went down there and you would think that I worked for the company. And a
Right.
lot of times I do the job fairs, I tell people my stories, and then I let them know that I am you. I'm you and I'm you. I just made a different decision at one of the hardest times in my life. So
Hmm.
once you realize that you can be up here hiring another person, and then I'm always down any type of football game. I'm in the bowl with them. I'm in
Right.
the clutches with them, just motivating and working and
In the
in the
trenches.
trenches. Yeah. So when they see me working just as hard as them, that's like, man, I see Mr.
They
Kelly out here
yeah.
working. He ain't got to be here, but he down here be putting it in with us. So that's really the motivation I give him.
So what do you look for when hiring someone to join your core staff?
Um, I want to hire people that's smarter than me. I want to hire
I
people
like
that
that.
are skilled and best in that particular field. Because if I'm doing everything and I'm the best at everything, I don't really have a good team. I
Right.
don't want people around me that I have to continue to tell them do this and do that. I want you to bring me ideas. And I'm like, yeah, let's try that. Let's do this. So I'm really looking
Yes.
for people, like I said, that's a lot smarter than me. And I'm also looking for people that are highly skilled in that particular area. If it may be accounting, it may be marketing, it may be photography, whatever it may be that we need to keep this going. I'm looking for that particular person because I feel like let the best person do that job. Don't try to do the
Okay.
job.
Yeah. So, how do you handle failure, whether it's your own or someone else's?
I don't feel like failure. I feel like failure is a lesson. I'm learning from it.
Yes.
My whole goal is to find out the positive in everything, even if that,
Yes. The,
you know.
the seed of equivalent benefit is what Napoleon Hill called in Think and Grow Rich.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to figure out. I was telling my cousin yesterday. Even if somebody died, I try to go back and figure out what was our last conversation about.
Oh,
Because I'm
interesting.
trying to figure out and find the positive in everything. 'Cause there's a
Right.
lesson in everything. So I don't
Yes.
even look at it as failures. Even for me losing accounts. I've lost several accounts over millions of dollars. And I just look at it like, what it may have been was I'm always saying them, when I am the they, you know,
Right.
I am the workers. They call me and tell me this worker isn't doing this or doing that. I have to always say, well, shit, I didn't train him well enough. I need to start training these people different. Let me look for different training protocols and different things to have them all the way together so the next time this won't happen. So every failure, I try to find a lesson in it to help me build a little bit more.
Excellent. What role would you say mentorship play in your business and life?
That's the real cheat code right there, man. Because if you think about it, I would have lost out on almost $12,000 if I didn't have a mentor.
Right.
So, and I want a mentor in every level. And it's just not the rich, the successful, the big people. If I want to learn about podcasts, I may come to you and say, man, I need to understand about Riverside podcast and about Inglewood and teach me this and this camera view and different things like that. So that's really the cheat code in any business because you're 6, 7, 8 months into podcasting. So there's some things that you already learned, some mistakes you already made that you say,
Definitely. So some lessons. We call those failures lessons now. Yep.
yes. So there's already some lessons that you already learned that you would say, Mario, don't use this microphone right here, or you don't need to spend $100,000 on a mic. You can use this
Right.
mic. You don't need to get a big $50,000 camera. You can use your
Yeah.
phone.
Right.
It's all in the lighting and this, whatever it may be. So yeah,
So yeah. So
mentoring is
mentorship is very
oh,
important.
that's one of the top tiers. If you're trying to start a business after you get the idea, the next thing is to find a person who's in that field who can mentor you.
Right. So looking at the future, Mario, where do you see Believe 313 in the next 5 years?
Next 5 years, God willing, somebody else owning it.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know?
Transitioning.
Yeah, somebody that,
Okay.
I look at it that every business is built to sell. And I've
Okay.
learned that from a mentor.
Yes,
So,
I agree with that totally.
yeah, and my ultimate goal is to sell the business, still have a minority partnership, very, very small partnership, 5-10% in it. And I'm transitioning to the AI field because in 5 years, man, like I said, AI is going to be almost taking over the world. Right now we're in that stage of in between.
Where the .com was back when the internet first came out, and we was like, "Huh, how does that work?" And it just took over
This is
everything.
like 97, Windows
Yep,
97. This see
exactly.
2 years into it, or even that point where we were like riding horsebacks between Model Ts. Some people were
Yes,
like, "All right,
a transition
that
period.
transition. I'm still gonna ride my horse for the rest of my life." And they like, "No, I'm gonna get me a Model T, and I can get there faster." A lot of people not understanding, so we're in that transition point. 5 years from now, it's going to be full, it's going to be fully, to the point to where, like you said, you don't need a travel agent in 5 years. You got
No,
GPT. You may not even need a lawyer up to a certain aspect because you got Chat GPT to put the prompts in the proper way. So 5 years from now, um, I would see that Believe in AI is the name of the new company, would be in multiple states doing call centers for multiple businesses. We just inquired the city of Detroit Department and Resources. So we're answering the phone for multiple departments for the city of Detroit right now.
excellent.
And we have a couple more deals on the table. The cleaning, I think the cleaning will be, I want to keep the cleaning for as long as I can till my kids get a little older. But the staffing side of things, I'm looking to offset. I'm looking to sell it, because it's I feel like it's at its peak, like stocks. When they get high enough, you
Okay,
think this when you bought at $200, now it's $2,200, it's time to sell.
right, right. So, are there any new projects or partnerships you're excited about right now? Tell us about your book. Tell us about your website, where people can reach you, learn more about you. Talk to us.
Yeah, so like I said, the new project is Believe in AI. It's BelieveinAI.ai. If you're looking to learn about ChatGPT mastery, where you can literally take it to the next level. You can build your website, learn about coding, learn about how to even build your own GPT. We have all of these things in the website for you guys. My book is on all platforms. Amazon, you can go to Amazon and type in the $27 millionaire. You can go to Apple Books and type in the $27 millionaire. It's $6 all over the platforms. And the reason I made it $6 is because it's not about getting rich off of selling books. I want to get the story out there. I want some
Right,
guy in the basement of their mama house is 27 years old, is just coming home from college, that's mentally his mind is playing tricks on him to read this book and say, man, this guy, if he can do it, I know I can do it, and
exactly.
spearheading their ideas. It's Believe 313 staffing on all platforms. Follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Mario Kelly on LinkedIn.
Got you, got you. So, final question. What's your message to other entrepreneurs who come from unlikely beginnings?
Oh, perfect. I'll go back to Dan Gilbert saying, numbers and monies don't lead, they follow. A lot of times people who come from different backgrounds or are very low with just an idea, we think that what we see on Instagram is really how it's been the whole time. No, there was some real rough nights. There was some arguments in these meetings. There were some people not showing up to work. But what you see is what we put out there. So don't believe that the numbers and the money lead, they follow. You build anything great, it's gonna come flying in.
Excellent, excellent. Mario, thanks for coming on the show. We enjoy talking to you. And for you who are listening, whether you're listening on the podcast or watching on YouTube, Mario Kelly isn't just building a staffing company, he's building futures for others. His story proves that redemption is not only possible, but it's transformative. And by believing in others, he's helping entire communities rise. In today's conversation, we should have been inspired, and it should make us want to think differently. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Follow Mario and the impactful work happening at Believe 313 Staffing, because every story has power and every person has a purpose. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Ingleside Reviews, Innovators Unveiled. To our listeners, I hope that you've been motivated to pursue your own dreams and ideas and approach challenges with the same level of determination as Mario Kelly has. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share this podcast with someone in their own journey of growth. And as always, keep innovating, keep creating, and never stop unveiling the innovator in you. Until next time, I'm your host, A.D. Edwards, signing off.
You've been listening to Ingleside Reviews, Innovators Unveiled. Our passion is to take you on a journey into the minds behind the most cutting-edge products hitting the market today. It's an honor to have on the show the creative geniuses shaping our future. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. Hit our website at inglesidereviews.com. On Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Ingleside Reviews. And on Twitter at Ingleside Review. See you next time.